Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Harika. So in previous videos about API automation using UiPath, we have seen multiple things right from the scratch, and also I have shown you a demo how you can do the API calls by using HTTP request, and how you can fetch the values by using a certain type of method. So I have shown this particular website to you, wherein you can request and get the response and check if it's as appropriate as that it is mentioned in the website. So in this video, I am going to showcase something which is really important to understand, the JSON format. So the format that we are getting in, it's just that we don't use the values as it is, but we have to fetch the certain values from the JSON that it is providing it as an output. So now first we have to understand what is the format of the JSON that we are getting, and how we can actually fetch the values from that particular JSON. Okay, so now let's say if I wanted to fetch the value which is against total, that is 12. So how can I fetch this particular value which I can use it in further of my process? So that is very crucial. And if I wanted to get the ID or the first name, how can I do that? How can I fetch the values? So for that, that is a whole point that I'm going to explain you. By end of this video, you can easily fetch however the complex the JSON format is. And even though if it is little tricky also, you can able to understand the formats, and you can able to use the activities in order to fetch the output from that particular JSON. So first of all, let's try to see different formats of the JSON and what we would call them, in order to understand how we have to pass it through the activities. Okay, so first of all, let me copy this whole information, which is the response information. Okay, just copying and pasting it in the notepad. Okay, so if you just observe here, this is a whole JSON, right? This, from whatever it's starting from the braces, it's a complete JSON that we have. Okay, from there till here. And now if you just observe this page, whatever the output I am getting. So let's go back to the activity that we have used. So if you see, we have HTTP request, and the output of this is get result. I'm taking it as a get result, and the variable type of this get result is a string, right? So this string contains whole value as it is. So for your understanding, I'm just running this particular workflow. Okay, okay, so if you're not sure what we are doing, I just took this example in the previous video. Please go and watch the part 2 of API automation series, so that you will be clearly understanding what we are doing right now. So this is the whole JSON that I got. But if you just observe, it's a string. So how can I fetch the values from this particular string? So for that, what we have to do is we have to pass it through a particular activity, which is deserialize the JSON. So first of all, we have to deserialize the JSON. So for that, let me just show you how we can do that. So this whole part is the JSON, right? So what can I do? Let me go over here and take the activity deserialize JSON. So here, if you just see under JSON, we have two different activities. The first one is deserialize JSON, and the second one is deserialize JSON array. Okay, so I will talk about deserialize JSON array later, but first let's understand what is deserialize JSON. So let's pull this activity here. And here what I'm going to do, I should pass a string. The input for this is a string. Okay, so what is my string value? Get result is a string. And after passing the string, let's go to the properties. Here, if you just observe, we are getting the output as a JSON object. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, just create a variable which is get result JSON object. Okay, J object is something that I'm creating. and we've created the object here. So just come here and see get result J object is of type JSON object. Okay, so this is perfect. So let's see the output, how it is actually returning. So based on that, we can fetch the values from this. So as this is a string, directly we cannot perform any action on it, or you cannot fetch the values from it. So for that, in order to fetch the values from that particular JSON, what we are doing, we are passing this thing into a deserialized JSON activity. Okay, this is clear, right? So after that, let me take a log message. Here I am passing get result J object. Okay, so let's put a breakpoint here and observe what exactly we are getting the output of this. Okay, so debug. I'm using the same example so that you will be in the flow that we are seeing from the first example. Okay, so just try to understand what we are doing here. Okay, so I have done the deserialized JSON. So what's the output of this? Go to immediate panel and see object, right? So if you see, it has given an object of 6, right? J object of 6. So how we can actually read these values? Okay, so what is the way that you can actually read these values? So let me just tell you that. So before do that, let me do a step into, we'll get the values here. So this is perfect, right? It's not like a string. So previously, if you just observe, okay, let me hit on continue. Now I can show you the difference. This is perfect. I'm pinning this output panel to show you the difference of how we will get. So if you see, this is the previous output that we got, right? This is like this is just a string value. But here, if you just observe, this is a JSON array. And sorry, this is a JSON value that we have got as an output. So this is very clear in the way that we can read it, correct, instead of a string. So the output of this is a JSON object. This is how it will appear. But now the requirement is to fetch this value, which is 12. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, okay, so now how to fetch this particular value, let me just show you that. If you see here, or let me take this notepad. If you see here, whatever is there in the left hand side, that's called as a token. And what is this is, it's a token value. This 2 is a token value. So how to fetch this particular value? So let me come here, and here in the log message, this particular JSON object, whatever we are having, so just give a dot and you can just select that particular token. So how to do that? You have a method called select token, and inside that you can provide in the value which is total. Okay, let's go over here and provide the value. Changing it into a string. Okay, so this is how you can actually get the values from a particular JSON. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm gonna debug this and show you one more time. So here I should get that value which is 12. Okay, fine. So here if you see, the value is 12. Perfect, right? So now this is quite easy, that we can just simply provide in the values which are here under the token, and we can get the token values. That is simple with respect to this format. So let's say if you are having this kind of format, that is simple. But if you just see from here, these are all the values that are inside an array. correct? So if you have a square bracket like this, that mentions that this is an array. So inside this particular array, this is first value, this is second value, this is third. So it's an array, like data is containing a value which is an array, not just like a just like a value against this total. So now how to fetch this value? So for that, let me put let me take this data, just copying this part alone, provide it here. Okay, so now we will see how this value will be provided in the output. So based on that, we will write a particular expression to fetch the value. So okay, so if you just observe here, after when I have selected the token which is data, we are getting all these values. So how can I actually fetch these values is the question now. So I wanted to fetch the ID. Okay, ID value is my requirement. How can I fetch that particular value? So if you see, that's an array, right? So it is returning a particular array of values. So now what I'm going to do, I have two ways that I'll show you now. You can choose any of the way based on your requirement. So for that kind of array values, I will take deserialize JSON array. And inside this particular deserialize JSON array, what I'm going to do here, I have to provide what is the input for this. It's a string, right? So I am going to take this particular value, which is a string. This is perfect, right? So this string will return me an array. So which is a JSON array, right? So I'm going to give I'm sorry, this is control. Okay, and then create an array here, which is get result JSON array. Okay, J array. Just come over the variables and see here, get result is a type of J array. So it gives me an array of values. So how can I actually see them, look through them and fetch them? Okay, so now here what I'm going to do, let's take that particular value, which is get result J array. So we have seen it's an array of items, right? J array. So we can just see what is the number of values that are there inside that array. So just see the count. Let's put a breakpoint and dig deep into this. Okay. So here we have to actually we have passed the string, which is a value that we are getting from here, right? So first of all, what is the value of this? This is the value, right? This is the value that we got from here, and we're converting that into a string and we're passing. So let's see if it is providing any output. So what is that output? JSON get result JSON array. So if you see here, we got an array of 6 items. So let's see what is the output of this log message. So if you see, it has given an array of 6. So if you wanted to find out what is the each value that it contains, so how you can do like this, you can just, so if you see the 0th position has this element. Okay, so what is it? It is a object of 5 elements, and what it shows, see here, it's a ID 7 and the email. These are the values that are there here. Just come to immediate. ID is 7, and this is the email, this is the name, and this is some other property. So like that, right? So all the values of that element in the 0th position are here. So like that, you can use JSON array in order to fetch the items. Okay, so let's say just hit continue, and now I will show you a proper example. So now let's do one thing. Let's take a small other way of doing this particular thing. Okay, Let me take a new sequence. Okay, I'm going to take this sequence, right? So now we understood what is deserialized JSON and deserialized JSON array. So let me first, what I'll do is, let's take a this particular notepad is there, right? So in this notepad, if I wanted to fetch the values of all of these, how can I do that? By using a deserialized JSON, and what type of values I should pass into deserialized JSON array. So for that, let me take deserialized JSON. So for this, input type is string. So what I'm going to do, let's take a read text file, and here I will create one more notepad. Let me one second. I am going to share that notepad as well. Okay, so this is my new notepad, and I'm gonna copy. Okay, let's go over here and try to fetch some other values for your understanding. So let's say this is the one. Okay, here I'm having the format where this is the format, right? So here I can directly fetch data, and let's see how we can actually do this particular part, because this is not an array, right? So I'm gonna save this as JSON format 1. Okay, I've saved it, and what I'm going to do, I'm gonna read this particular file, which is JSON format 1. I have given it as an input. Okay, so the output of this is a string, JSON or str1. Okay, just a str1. So I'm passing that str1 here. Perfect, right? So let's take a object, JObject1. Now let's take a log message and see the output of this. This is perfect. Okay, so now I'll put a breakpoint and we will debug and see what is the output of this. Let me copy that particular data here. Okay, so this is my data that I have passed into my text file. Okay, so now I am going to deserialize this. So once after I do the deserializing, what I'll get, J object of 1. Okay, this is my value that I'm getting. So here, if you just observe, this contains 2 objects. Okay, so what is the first object? It should be the data. Inside data we have all this, and second should be the support, right? So how we can actually access them? So J object 1 of, so let's try with 0. Let's check what will be. It cannot evaluate, right? Because it actually starts with, let's see what it is returning for 1. Okay, so let me show you how we can access this. So J object of, now I'm going to give this particular value, which is data. Okay, so if you just see, perfect, right? Or else you can as well give this way, dot select token, which we have seen, which is a method that we can use on JSON object. Okay, select token. So what is the token value that you wanted to provide? Data. Right, perfect, right? So this data itself contains 5 objects. What are those 5 objects? ID, email, first name, last name, and avatar. Okay, so now if you wanted to fetch the values which are inside that particular data, so how you can do that? You can do it in 2 ways. So the first way is either you can give sorry, this should be 1. So what we are actually doing, um, we are till here we've got the value as this particular value. Inside that we have 5 particular objects. So what are those 5 particular objects that we have? ID. So let me give ID here because it's not an array, so it's not fetching this way. So this is ID, right? So make sure that it is not it is case sensitive, so make sure that it is as per what it is provided there. So ID is 2, right? And then next one is email. So in that way you can actually fetch everything out of this. In the same way, if you wanted to take the JSON, if you wanted to fetch the value of the token against this particular, which is support, you can just give it here. And also, what is it? URL. You can provide URL. So you get this. So this is how you can actually fetch if the particular data is of JSON. But let me come to the point. So this is clear, right? How we can use Deserialize JSON, how you can access the values from that particular JSON format if it is of this kind. Okay, this is the JSON format. And now what I'm going to do, let's do a stop. And this is clear, right? So this is one method, and the other method is I'm going to take a new sequence, which is Deserialize JSON Array. Okay, so here what I'm going to do, I'm gonna read the text file. Okay, so here I'm going to not give I'm not going to give the same text, but let me show you. I'll do some little modifications here and there to the text that I'm going to select. So let me take a notepad, and I'm gonna share that notepad as well here. Okay, so what is my format here? This is an array, right? So let's take it from here, because that's where the array starts from. Till here I'm going to copy the array value. Okay, because this is the point where the array is going to start. So if it is of this format, how I'm going to do the action? So I'm going to save this as JSON Format 2. Okay, under the text file, just say close, and then take this as JSON Format 2 text file, and this is of str2. Okay, so after that is done, what we have to take the activity, we are passing it into a JSON array. Why? Because I'll explain you shortly. str2. Okay, and the output of this is JObject2. Okay, fine. And let's take a one more log message to debug. Okay, JObject2. I'm gonna put a breakpoint and let's debug this. Execution has started, and we have got the output, which is JObject2. JObject2. Okay, so if you just see here, it's an array. Previously what we've observed, it's a JSON object, but here it's an JSON array of 6 elements, right? So for accessing those, JObject2 of whatever the element that you wanted to fetch. Okay, 0th element I want to fetch. So this is the output that you can get from there. Or how else you can do, JObject2. So here if you just see, just like how we have done in case of the JSON object, in that way you can even select the token, which is ID, right? Here we have ID. So if you see, it is null because we haven't selected a particular object from there. So now how you can do that is, so this particular element has all these attributes, right? So from that element, if you wanted to fetch the values, so let me show you. So from that, if you wanted to fetch the ID of the 0th element, that is shown as 7, right? So like that you can actually do. So how you can actually access these all values from here? So let me put a stop, and I'm going to take for each activity. So pull a for each activity here, and here I'm going to provide what is the value that you want to provide. J object 2, correct? So this particular object is of type, you have to select token, okay? Because as we have seen, this is the token value that you wanted to select it from, right? So just give J token. This is the value, okay? So once after that is given, so each item at a time consists of the array object, first array object or second array object. So the nth number of array object that it contains. And now what I wanted to fetch here, just take a log message, and here you can just take the text like, let's say if you wanted to fetch ID, email, first name and avatar, okay? So how you can do that? So first let's see what does item contain. So based on that I can write it. So I'm debugging the file, just hit on continue. So if you see, at every point of time this item value contains, this is the information. So it's very easy for us to write now. So let's come over here. So item of ID, right? And then item of email. So like that you can just provide in the values. Let me show you. Let's take this first name. So it will give you the values at each time whenever it iterates through. Okay. And the last one, which is avatar. Okay, you can just give in that way. It shows some error, not sure why. Did I miss something? Okay, choose plus is not defined. Okay, fine. Just have to convert everything into a string. Okay, so we could resolve that and then just do a debug. And now I'm gonna hit on continue. So if you just observe, we got all the values that we have given, wanted to extract from that particular JSON, right? So 1 2 3 4 5 6. So every time it runs through, it gives all the values. So 7 shows ID, and this shows the email ID, and this is Rachel is the first name, and Howell is the last name. And if you want to, just like how we have given for this, you can just provide in the avatar as well. So This is clear, right? So now we are going to see the third format, which is the combinational, which we have already seen earlier, but then for, as I've explained in bits and pieces, so now I'm going to combine both of them and show you. So till now we have seen this format, which is completely JSON format, and we have seen this format right from here, which we considered as a JSON array. So now let's see the combination of both. So let's say if you have a output which is a combination of both JSON and a JSON array, so how you can actually fetch, how you can fine tune it. It's just that you have to combine both of them. You just have to use both Deserialize JSON and as well as Deserialize JSON array. So for you, to make you understand, I'm gonna take a sequence and just show you maybe a hybrid approach, and then okay, here what I'm going to do, just like how we have created a retext file, I'm gonna use the retext file, and here I'm going to use this particular file. I'm gonna save this as hybrid or JSON format 3. Okay, JSON 3, and this is the format. Let's take this off. This is the complete JSON where we have a combination of an array and also a JSON. So now I'm gonna save this, and which is a JSON format 3, right? So for this, I'm gonna name it as str3. And after this, what I'm going to do, I'm gonna use a, okay, so based on the output. So what is the output of this? It's a string, right? So first you, I'm gonna ask some questions over here. You can just pause the video for a while and think. It's up to you to decide which activity to use. Okay, it's just kind of a tuning or understanding the knowledge that we have gained till now. So in this hybrid approach, I have a format where it's a combination of both JSON and the JSON array. And so now what's the input for the JSON is a string, and also for this also is a string. So now as I already have an array inside, if I wanted to fetch the values out of it, let's say if I'm using JSON array, I have to provide the string. So let's say if I say str3, what's gonna happen here? Do you think it's true? It's good to use JSON array here because I want to fetch the values from that array object. So let me go to the format 3. Where is my format 3? Here it is. Okay, so this is my format 3. So I wanted to fetch the values from ID, email, and all this. So for that, can I directly use JSON array? Is my first question. So if yes, let's see how we can do that. If will it cause some errors, and if not, what is the right way? Okay, so I'm gonna take a JSON array 3. Okay, so this is my JSON array that I will be getting as an output. Let's take a log message, and then here I would write JSON array 3. Oh, sorry, JSON array 3. Okay, put a breakpoint and then debug. Okay, so if you see, we got an error, correct? Because if you have guessed it that we should not use JSON array for this kind of format, then you are right. If not, then you have to understand why we should not use this. Okay, so firstly, let me just explain you. This shows an error that JSON J array from JSON reader, current JSON reader item is not an array because it contains a JSON array. If you see here, let me show the format 3. So it contains a JSON array, but it's not starting as a JSON array, correct? So that is the reason why when it's a combination of both, you have to make sure that you should first tune it before you actually pass it through a JSON array. So in that case, how you have to do that? So let's say if it is passing just like this as a JSON array, then definitely you can go for directly using deserialized JSON array. But if it is for following of this kind, then you should not. You first have to tune it and then only you have to pass it. So for that, let me show you. Just stop this. And here, before to deserialize JSON array, we have to tune it with respect to deserialize JSON. Let's take this over here. Pass that string. Okay. So this will return you JSON object. Just give JObject3 and try to read this and let's understand how we can tune it. Okay. JObject3. Put a breakpoint and then debug. Okay, so this doesn't given any error, right? Because we are passing a perfect JSON into this, which is a expected format that this activity is looking for. Okay, so now let's come into the debug immediate panel and see how we can check this. Let me just expand this a bit so it will be clear for you. So I'm taking this particular JSON object. So if you see, it contains a 6 JSON objects, and inside this JSON objects we contain all of this. But here is a JSON array, right? So this is our requirement. We have to fetch the values from here. Okay, so we have to fetch the values from here till the point where the array ends. This should be given as an input. Okay, but in the string format. This should be given as an input in the string format to the deserialized JSON array. Only then it will accept. So how we can do that? So for this, we have to check the input. Let me go to the text file. Okay, here is my text file. Okay, so we all know this is the JSON array. So how to get this particular array? We can access it with the token, which is a data, right? So now I'm going to show you JSON object 3, which is the object that is coming from deserialized JSON. And here I can either take select token or directly you can give dot in the parenthesis data. So I'm going to give select token method, and here I'm going to use data. Okay, so this particular value will fetch me the JSON array, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this whole thing, okay? Because I'm going to use this. Just stop it. So this value in a string format. If you see here, if it is not a string, then it's gonna throw an error because this is of type token. This is a token information. So dot to string. Deserialized JSON array input is a string. So I'm converting this into a string and then I'm giving it as an input. So here I'll get the output. Okay, I already have the output, right? JRA3. JRA3. Okay, so this is my output. So now if you see, this doesn't throw an error. So let's debug this and check. Okay, now let's step into this. So it haven't thrown an any error, right? So what is J array of 3 now? It contains the list of array items. So let's step into. So if you see, it contains a list of array items, and from here you know how to do that, right? So it contains an array which is J array 3, and now if you wanted to fetch the values, so just like how we have done here, copy this because it's just the same. I'm gonna replace this with J array of 3, right? And you know that it should be of the token because it is returning the token values. So I'm going to use the same thing. I'm gonna run this file. So if you see, it returns me all the values after executing from this, right? So this is perfect. So we have seen how you can do this particular action if it is only of the type JSON, if it contains only of the type which is JSON array, and if it contains a combination of both, which is JSON array and as well as a normal JSON. So this is how you have to use it. Based on, you first have to understand what is the property of this particular activity, what is the input type that it is actually accepting, what is the output type that it is returning, and based on that how you can fetch your particular token value. So this is how you can do. I hope this has given a clear understanding of what is deserialized JSON and different formats of JSONs that we have, and how we can actually use based on the format of the particular JSON. So this is all about JSON formatting and how you can parse the value and deserialize them and fetch them. So in the going further next videos, I'm going to talk more about orchestrator API and how you can access and how, what are the different functions that you can perform on an orchestrator using APIs, just like how you can do in, you know, a normal orchestrator. So that's something which is through APIs. I believe it would draw some interest for you and also knowledge. Thank you so much for watching, and I will be posting videos on them continuously going further. So to not miss any of the videos, do subscribe to my channel, and if you find this video useful, do give a comment below the video, and also do like the videos. Thank you so much for watching.